Set in a major Australian city, the story begins by introducing an investigative journalist named Ken Rutherford who is trying to uncover the background of a mysterious killer who has rocked their city.
At that stage, what did you know about John Doe?
He was a very sophisticated and intelligent predator.
This killer always targets individuals who hold power but do not uphold morality, such as officials involved in corruption or public figures who often use their position for personal gain.
If you're a law-abiding citizen, then let me tell you something. You have nothing to fear. A few days ago, John Doe claimed yet another victim. Now people are being killed.
His acts of murder were often reported on television, but his identity remained a mystery until the community named him John Doe. One day, John Doe continued his mission by executing a figure who had long been hiding behind flawed legal protection. This time, he targeted a priest named Xavier Edward, who was proven to have reprehensible behavior as a pedophile. Father Xavier was at his home, dressing a little girl named Sally in a room. Quickly, John Doe entered and asked Sally to leave the room so he could act without interruption.
Okay, Sally, don't be scared. Go next door and call your mother.
After Sally left, John Doe took Father Xavier to a pre-prepared room, which contained evidence of Xavier's crimes against child victims. Without hesitation, John Doe dealt Father Xavier his comeuppance, completing the act swiftly and mercilessly. After that, he took all the evidence of the crimes and immorality committed by Pastor Xavier to a television station. However, after the news of Pastor Xavier's death was broadcast on television, all the videos sent by John Doe were cut and edited by the television station so that all the crimes committed by Pastor Xavier were not known to the general public. The television station even reported the death of Pastor Xavier as a death caused by a heinous murder by someone who had hatred for a particular religion. Ken, who knows that the video from the coverage of Pastor Xavier's death has been cut, decides to come to the television station and ask for a full video about what really happened to Pastor Xavier. However, the editors refused Ken's request and asked him to come to the police station in person to find out what really happened. After Ken arrived at the police station, he finally found out that the police had deliberately covered up the crimes committed by Pastor Xavier because if the real news was broadcast, the public would immediately act and protest. People will be furious when they discover that the priest they have always trusted is a perverted pedophile who abuses children. Ken then meets a male reporter named Sam, who has previously received video copies of John Doe's judgments and murders. He realizes that John Doe can only trust Sam to accept the videos because he is someone who opposes corrupt officials and unscrupulous rulers. Ken asked the editor-in-chief for permission to meet with Sam, but at that time, he was broadcasting live to report the motive for all the murders committed by John Doe. In the broadcast, Sam told the public that John Doe only targets unscrupulous people and corrupt rulers who always escape the law. So he advised the public not to worry because John Doe would not harm civilians or ordinary citizens. After the news, John Doe continued to carry out his mission to hunt down the targets and execute them directly without giving any mercy. Each assassination target will receive a different punishment depending on the crimes they have committed so far. A corrupt official who often deceived and exploited the public would be smothered with tape and stabbed in the mouth with a tube. A pedophile who frequently sodomizes a child will be punished by being stabbed in the buttocks to penetrate the head. A rapist and abuser will be punished by cutting off their private area. These were all John Doe's way of demanding justice because they were all highly influential criminals and could easily escape prosecution. That night, John Doe came to the house of a man who works as a youth counselor who had raped 2 young girls from broken homes until they were traumatized and had to be rehabilitated in a mental hospital. In this mission, John Doe decided not to submit evidence to television stations but to social media. Thus, videos of all the evidence of the crimes of the murder victims will not be cut or edited so that the public will be aware of John Doe's true motives. Since the incident, many people have supported John Doe's actions, and a young man named Murray Willis admitted that he and his members had built a John Doe support group. But even though Murray supports John Doe, he rejects John Doe's vigilante actions and only supports him because of his courage to uphold justice for the victims who have been cheated by flawed laws. A few days later, a woman named Kate Johnson came to a social institution to ask for help because she was a victim of domestic violence by her husband. But she didn't want to take her husband to court and just wanted to ask for some money to buy medicine at the pharmacy. Kate admitted that she still loves her husband very much and does not want to be separated from him. In the evening, Kate again fell victim to a beating from her husband, who was influenced by alcohol. After beating Kate until she fainted, her husband left her and their house. But John Doe suddenly appeared on the way and immediately beat Kate's husband until he died.
Think you're a big man?
Several months have passed, and now the total number of murder cases committed by John Doe has reached 18 cases, and more people are aware of the murders committed by John Doe. Many people supported him, but some denounced his vigilante acts even though he did all that for the sake of justice. A few days later, a video of two young boys hitting another boy at a club went viral on social media. The victim of the abuse was in a coma for several days before the young man died. However, the court acquitted the two young men who were the perpetrators of the abuse because the judge stated that their actions were merely self-defense. It turned out they were the sons of the nightclub owner where the beating incident occurred, and their father had bribed the judges to acquit his sons of prosecution.
God says I'm innocent, so I'm going home, fellas.
It's been a long day.
His name was you killed my son!
It clearly made the parents of the beating victims feel furious and betrayed by the law because they had to watch the killer of their child roam free without getting any punishment. A few days later, John Doe secretly followed one of the youths who became the perpetrators of the abuse to kill him by using a cyanide patch around his neck. As a result, the young man had convulsions and difficulty breathing until he fell unconscious and died. The action taken by John Doe this time was very risky, but Ken and the police could still not trace his identity because John Doe's face was not captured by CCTV cameras. The police chief suspected that John Doe was a former elite soldier who knew the ins and outs of security in public spaces.
Each one of John Doe's victims faced our justice system at least once.
John was killing career criminals.
People were being murdered. It's your job to find the killer.
He was a ghost. The cops would have been perfect.
Ruthless killer John Doe struck again. Jesse Sutton, his 20th victim.
Over time, the number of murder cases committed by John Doe increased, and so did the number of people who were members of John Doe's support group. Moreover, Murray continues to campaign against the flaws of law and the injustices that keep criminals off the hook. He says John Doe is the only person who can give justice and punish criminals who always take advantage of flawed laws. In addition to the campaign, Murray is collecting signatures on a petition to pressure the government to impose tougher sentences on heinous criminals for crimes and immorality they commit. Unfortunately, the petition was rejected by the Ministry of Law officials because any petition not funded or supported by a government official would never be taken seriously by the ministry. After realizing their petition was rejected, several young men who were members of a John Doe support group decided to follow in John Doe's footsteps by judging and executing criminals who escaped the law. That night, they approached the young abuser and lured him to a place where the youth supporters of John Doe had prepared to kill him.
Come here, buckwheat! Oi!
After that, they began to kidnap corrupt officials and torture them in a hidden headquarters.
I didn't think it'd be like this.
We're not gonna kill him, okay?
You fucking pussy!
The incident began to spread in various television media, and they suspected that Murray was the mastermind behind the kidnapping carried out by the John Doe support group. Still, he immediately denied it because he was firmly against vigilantism. Even Sam is suspected of being a supporter of the John Doe fanatic group because lately, he has not actively covered all the actions carried out by John Doe's support group. Sam admitted that he was deliberately absent from covering the news about John Doe's support group because he supported John Doe. He was fed up with the people who continue to obey corrupt authorities and do not dare to fight for justice for the crime victims.
Get their way, the victims end up getting screwed. The courts end up editing the victim's impact statement. And the victims end up becoming victims all over again. It is a war against crime. I hate the way everybody just sits back and expects somebody else to take care of the problem.
So you're comparing what's happening here to a war?
Of course I am, Ken, and it is a war with victims.
Shortly after, the television broadcast was suddenly hijacked by John Doe and showed the execution of an old pedophile man. This time, the target is different from the previous target, where the pedophile man arrested by him is a poor man with no legal power.
Fuck.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, of course you do, you crazy bastard. What are you doing? Here we go.
John Doe interrogated the man named Adam while hitting him in the face every now and then. He said that John Doe had caught the wrong person, and he was not at all a pedophile as John Doe had alleged. Hearing this, John Doe took a wooden box containing pigtails from children who had been victims of rape and murder by Adam. But even though all the evidence had been put before Adam, he still denied all of John Doe's accusations and insisted that he was innocent. John Doe patiently nodded at Adam's explanations and acted as if he believed him. Adam, who was still in chains, tried to call for help by shouting loudly for others to hear and save him, but John Doe immediately convinced him that in that place, no one would be able to save him.
I've never seen him before. Oh, that must belong to my flatmate. Somebody! Help!
Only you can save yourself. You know, this whole thing would go a lot easier if you simply tell me the truth. Where did you get the hair?
Nothing. I swear to God, it wasn't me.
6 girls that you did fuck knows what to...
After starting to lose his temper, John Doe decided to take off his mask so that Adam could see his face and recognize who he really was. Seeing the figure in front of him, Adam immediately fell silent and was afraid because he knew who John Doe really was. It turned out that John Doe was a father of a daughter who had been a victim of rape and murder committed by him. Since the heinous act committed by Adam, John Doe's family began to fall apart, and his once happy and harmonious family has now been damaged. John Doe then said he wanted revenge against Adam by making him disabled for life. But in this country, people with disabilities will be financed by the state, and Adam's life will become easier. Therefore, he changes his plans and intends to kill Adam like all criminal pedophiles before him. But this time, John Doe, tired of executing and judging, decided to give him one last chance to confess his deeds.
You destroyed! There, that's Mary. You see that? You see how happy we are?
I'm done with the killing.
You're the last.
No. But you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes to convince me not to kill you. But your time's running out. Why did you kill my daughter? He was 9 years old. And Mary, I've taken her too, mate. You know, you killed us all. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I killed them. I killed them all right? I do forgive you, Adam. The problem is, I don't believe a fucking word you just said. Look at me. Fuck you.
When John Doe pointed a gun at his head, Adam, who had lost his mind, said that he did not regret his actions and told that he really enjoyed all his crimes. Hearing this, John Doe, filled with anger, immediately shot him right in the head until he died.
She was one of my favorites. Your little princess.
After that, John Doe deliberately gave the address on television before closing the broadcast so the police could find and arrest him. After John Doe was arrested and investigated by the police, they finally found out that he was a former elite soldier who had worked in government security agencies. Before the trial, Ken first met John Doe to conduct an interview regarding all the actions taken by him. Ken asked him how he knew which targets should be punished or executed all this time. John Doe admitted that he knew all about it because he worked in a social institution and always received information on complaints from victims. After asking a few questions, Ken quickly concluded that John Doe was just a killer claiming that he defended the victims to justify his murderous actions. Hearing this, John Doe then felt angry, and he immediately looked at the camera while telling the general public to start having the courage to demand justice so that corrupt rulers would not control them. After that, John Doe pretended to end his own life, so the police officers and Ken stopped him. But actually, the action was just John Doe's plan to approach Ken and kill him, who turned out to be a pedophile who often raped teenage boys.
I did what needed doing. There are so many of them out there, and some of them never get caught. You have to make them stop. It's time to get up off the couch. Get that the system that we call justice is polluting humanity with its shades of grey. I've delivered the message. Now it's up to you.
What is that? Oh, Jesus!
Hey! Send somebody in here!
As further startling information comes to hand, now obvious that he was always a part of John Doe's master plan.
Early this morning, Australian vigilante serial killer John Doe surrendered to police. He was taken into custody and charged with 33 counts of murder. His final murder was broadcast live over the internet. The entire world will watch this trial with great interest.
A few days later, the trial process for John Doe continued, and many media covered the case because they wanted to know the judge's decision about the sentence being handed down to him. When the spokesman for the court was about to announce the judge's decision, suddenly, several troops supporting John Doe appeared and fired several bombs around the court building.
3 months of trial and jury deliberation finally have a verdict.
They attacked helicopters on guard and police officers in the courthouse to create a commotion that would distract all the guards. During the chaos, Sam and Murray looked calm as if they had known all this was going to happen. John Doe's support team then used this opportunity to save John Doe and take him away from there. The moral message that can be taken from the movie John Doe, Vigilante, is the importance of true justice in society and the need to realize that the legal system should work for everyone, without exception. The movie reminds us that when the law is unable to provide fair protection, frustration and disappointment can lead to actions outside the law, even though they often risk worse consequences. It also highlights the importance of morality and integrity, both for individuals in positions of power and for society at large. While justice is essential, the movie shows that the means to achieve it must still respect humanitarian principles and not rely on violence. As such, the moral takeaway is that we should all strive for justice and truth in the right way, respecting the human rights of every individual, as well as ensuring that any actions taken are driven by good intentions and not retaliation or a desire to punish. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.